The interview with BJNN is brought to you by Biz Events, connecting the Central New York business community through events.
I'm Marnie Nesher, president of the Business Journal News Network. I'd like to welcome Tim Giarrusso, president and CEO of Human Technologies, headquartered in Utica, New York. Human Technologies is a nonprofit 501c3. They describe themselves as a social enterprise with a mission to create employment for people with disabilities. They have locations throughout New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Northern Virginia. According to their website, Human Technologies was established in 1945. They employ more than 300 people and generate more than $40 million in annual revenue, 99% of which are from sales of its products and services. Tell us a bit about yourself and your background, please.
Sure. Grew up in Syracuse, graduated from high school in '77, and left for college to go to Rochester at the Rochester Institute of Technology, pursued an engineering degree, and then spent about 28 years in the for-profit sector at companies like GE, Mobile Chemical, Eastman Kodak, and then a technology startup called Virtuoscopics. And then around 2007, kind of stepped aside from that and literally stumbled into the social enterprise world of the not-for-profits and really fell in love with it.
So tell the readers the mission of Human Technologies.
Well, as you pointed out, our mission is very simple. It's very concise. It's to create employment for people with disabilities. Of our 315 employees over 4 states, probably about 65% are people with various disabilities. That can range from mental illness to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, veterans who've returned from service to their country, who've become injured. And in fact, that's where the roots of our organization stem from, which is back at the time of the Korean War in 1954. Returning Korean War veterans became the primary focus of our organization.
So you use the term social enterprise as a dynamic and inspiring way of doing business. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. A social enterprise really says, you want to go out there and compete in markets and provide products and services just like any other business. But in a social enterprise, you're really presented with the opportunity to pour the proceeds from those products and services you deliver back into the mission. So when we generate surplus or profit, we're in 100% control of what we choose to do with those monies. So we pour them back into our organization to find additional ways to create more employment for people with disabilities. So the social benefit exceeds just our organization or the employees of our organization. We're really pointed at tackling needs in the community that otherwise wouldn't be addressed.
So talk about some of the services that you offer then.
Services to our customers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have 4 lines of business. What I refer to our employment engine is our environmental services, building grounds maintenance. We have employees that clean and take care of over 3 million square feet of building space every day. So that's our biggest employment generator. We also have a line of business that we refer to as facilities management services. So we do break-fix maintenance, preventive maintenance, HVAC work across the military reserve installations along the Thruway from Buffalo to Glenville, New York, and in western Pennsylvania. Our third line of business is manufacturing part of our organization. Really, I refer to it as converting. We're taking in raw materials, generating finished products, predominantly industrial sewing for military customers. And lastly, probably our most powerful line of business is our supply chain and procurement services business.
You do a lot.
Yeah.
Do you have plans to continue expanding outside of New York State?
Well, our expansion efforts really are centered within Central New York right now. And when we say expansion, we mean employment, job creation. The work that we do across all of our businesses quite often stretches well outside the United States and crisscrosses the world, really. Some of the work that we provide on behalf of the Department of State will reach Syria, Western Africa, Central America, and next year Mongolia.
Very diverse.
Yeah.
So you received a $45 million contract to provide third-party logistics and supply chain management services.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit more in detail as to what that will entail?
Right. That work is centered around the primary customer of the Department of State and our federal government. Within the Department of State, there are so many facets to it. It really is incredible. But we serve the embassies around the world in terms of items they need procured, international narcotics and law enforcement, anti-terrorism parts of the Department of State. And what we do on their behalf is when they need procurement quickly, accurately, and precisely, and they need it really fast, they have the ability to work through our organization where the bidding process and the procurement process can be cut from 18 months to quite often under 3 months.
Talk to me about the importance of innovation at your organization.
Well, a lot of people recognize that if you're not innovating and you're not growing, then you're dying, and no business likes to think about that. When we look forward into the future, we've done a great job becoming self-sufficient as a not-for-profit. So when we look forward, we know that we can't stand idly by. So we've done some things where we've created like our own mini Shark Tank version. We don't have any Mr. Wonderfuls or Lori Greniers, but we do have some monies to invest. So we've begun to reach out into the community and let people know that if they have products and there's a way for those products to be created in partnership with Human Technologies that will create employment for people with disabilities, then we'll maybe help fund that product and getting it to market. So that's one thing we've started to put our toe in the water around to see if we could.
How long ago have you started?
It's probably just about the last 18 months.
Okay.
We've got a couple of things, but in new product development,
it takes time,
and quite often you'll have 10 efforts for maybe one that'll succeed.
Any that you can share?
Well, one that another form of, actually no. But another thing that we have done that's very creative is we've started to step into the bagel making business. So we're really excited about that. In 2019, we're going to spread our wings a little bit more. We've just got one primary customer now as we're learning to scale up and really focusing next on how we create the employment for people within our organization to make those bagels. But the team's already thinking about Utica Green bread rolls, which is a spin-off from Utica Green bagels, which we've mastered. And
so you've tasted this.
These are real.
Okay,
they're really good. We have a whole portfolio of bagels now, but the team's very creatively looked at how we can create pizza crusts, bread rolls, and things like that. So we're starting to step into that. And then on another kind of innovative path, we've begun to acquire property. So
that was my next question. Okay.
Well, last year we secured over 40 acres of land in Herkimer and Oneida counties. 11 of those acres, I think I've mentioned to you once before, are on the Erie Canal. So we have 11 acres of waterfront in Rome, New York, and we're looking at ways to collaborate with investors because those 11 acres are in one of the economic opportunity zones. So people with capital to invest and ways to reduce their tax liabilities and in the future really avoid taxes on some of those monies they've earned in terms of capital gains. Those possibilities are out there. So we're really excited about that. Well, again, what we're interested in is how might we do that in collaboration where we'll find ways to create jobs for people with disabilities as we look into the future.
So you really have a vision. It sounds like you're at the beginning of that vision and you have a big empty space in between to get that, to employ. Your goal is obviously to employ people with disabilities.
Correct.
So what would be the next step now that you've bought the property?
Well, we've begun to collaborate with other entities like the city government,
okay.
Some people who've begun to invest in adjacent properties. We'll be looking at ways to create informational sessions for investors. We'll work with the city government in the Canal Corporation to put out requests for proposals to developers. So there's a lot of work, but really over the course of the next, I think, 3, 5, 7 years, we're going to be a player in helping to re-energize part of the city of Rome, New York on the waterfront. I'm a lover of the Erie Canal. I've spent a lot of time on it. I'm a rower, as you know, and I'm excited for the possibilities of bringing that piece of property into life.
If people are interested in learning more or perhaps even investing, can they contact you directly?
Absolutely.
Okay. What would be the best way to reach you?
Probably the best way is just visit our website and
which is?
Oh, let's see.
Am I putting you on the spot?
Yes, you are, because I don't visit it very often.
Just Google human technologies.
That's the best
You'll
thing.
find
It'll pop right on things. You saved me on that.
There you go.
That's right.
So it's interesting. You were talking about
htccorp.net.
Oh, there you go. I gave him a HTC. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask, in addition to that, you recently started another nonprofit because you were talking about rowing.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I've been rowing for about 15 years, just from a personal standpoint. But about 7 or 8 years ago, as I started to work with people with disabilities, initially people with vision loss, people who are blind, I started to take them out rowing on the river, on the canal. And I was always blown away by how much they loved it. It was just such a great experience. And they weren't interested in competing or going fast. I started to really appreciate more of the experience of the event of being out on the water and in nature. And so a friend of mine and I started a not-for-profit called Rochester Community Inclusive Rowing, which is now being extended into the Rome and Utica areas, as I'm down there a lot now. And what we do is we provide free access to the water for people with disabilities, veterans with PTSD, traumatic brain injury. And our motto is no one pays and no one gets paid. So it's all volunteer-based, and it's all centered around creating an inclusive experience, a therapeutic experience. So it's just a lot of fun, very rewarding, and I'm always blown away by the impact it has on anyone who comes out.
Can anybody participate if they were interested, or? Well,
sure, you can. If you call me or reach out to me, you're probably end up talking about rowing within about 20 minutes. So okay. That wouldn't be a problem. So when do you want to go?
Oh, well, I wasn't thinking for myself. Is it available during the winter time? I don't think so, right?
Actually, we work sometimes in indoor tanks where we let the water go past us and just sit still and row. Yeah, you can actually work out in the winter. Can
people contact you if
Sure. Yes, we've been working.
Interested in that as well?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Always looking for ways to do that. Again, we work with cancer survivors, people with MS, CP, across the autism spectrum. Anybody that wants to try it can try it. And we haven't had anybody fail yet. So
that's great.
Yeah.
It's very inspiring.
Yeah.
Tell me, how does human technologies impact the Mohawk Valley region?
Well, again, back to our mission, what a lot of people don't realize is that if you go across the states, and New York's no different than any other state, people with disabilities usually are unemployed at about a 70% rate. And that's a shocking number. And now in an economy where employment's at the lowest in history, right? We see that in the news all the time. It's tough to find employees. And I'm here to tell you that employees with disabilities, that our experiences, they're great employees. So one of the benefits that we have across the Mohawk Valley, or any organization like ours, is that we're taking people, giving them an opportunity to become taxpayers, to earn a paycheck and benefit from the dignity that work brings, and also to become a contributor to their families and their neighborhoods and their communities. So that's what we do across the Mohawk Valley, and actually in all of the states that we provide employment.
Very nice. Well, that's all we have time for today. I'd like to thank Tim for joining us. Please keep up to date with our interview series by checking out our website, cnybj.com.